The silent town. The road was empty as James drove toward the small town of Ravens Hollow. The GPS said he was close, but all he could see were miles of dense forest and an eerie fog rolling in. He was a journalist, chasing a lead about a town that had vanished off the map decades ago. The stories said no one who entered ever came back. As he drove past an old, rusted sign reading "Welcome to Ravens Hollow," his radio crackled with static. The moment he crossed into town, his car engine sputtered and died. The silence was deafening. No wind, no birds, no sign of life. Just rows of abandoned houses with broken windows and doors left ajar. James grabbed his flashlight and stepped out. His footsteps echoed unnaturally. He peered into the first house, a dusty living room, untouched for years. Plates still sat on the table, covered in cobwebs, as if the owners had left mid-meal. Then he heard it. A whisper. He spun around, but there was no one. His heart pounded as he stepped back outside. The fog thickened, and shadows flickered in the mist. Shapes moved, too fast to be human. He pulled out his camera and started filming. If anyone finds this, I am in Ravens Hollow. Something is here. A shadow darted across the street. James followed, his breath shaky. He found himself in front of an old church. The wooden doors creaked as he pushed them open. Inside, rows of rotting pews faced an altar covered in dried blood. The air smelled of decay. Then footsteps. James turned just in time to see something crawl out from the shadows. Its limbs were long and twisted, its face stretched into an unnatural grin. The thing let out a guttural click as more figures emerged from the dark corners of the church. James ran. The town had come alive. Figures stood in doorways, watching him with hollow eyes. The whispers grew louder, forming words. Join us. Stay forever. He sprinted toward his car, but it was gone. In its place, a decayed version of himself stood, smiling back at him. His doppelganger whispered, "You were always one of us." James screamed. The next morning, a new "Welcome to Ravens Hollow" sign stood at the town's entrance. A new face stared out from the faded photos of missing people James, grinning just like the others. And the town waited for its next visitor.